a leader of an organization, how are you not close with the stars of the organization? And the dilemma right now in the WNBA is that the star players, the Asias, the Stewies, the Sabrinas, the Caitlyn Clarks, they don't have a good enough relationship with the leader. The Napheesas, they don't have a good enough relationship with Cathy Engelbert. She came in and she wants all the credit for everything, but there's not enough communication between the leader and between the players. And now you got to revolt. Now everybody in the W is like, hold on, we want you up out of there. But I think the best thing I heard is, how can you negotiate if you don't communicate? And the dilemma is there's not even a negotiation, a quality negotiation right now between the players and between the W, because there's not quality communication right now.
Adam Silver just dropped the hammer on Cathy Engelbert, and the WNBA will never be the same. The NBA commissioner fired the WNBA boss after she made some of the most idiotic comments ever spoken by a sports executive. We are talking career-ending, reputation-destroying, league-damaging garbage that came straight out of her mouth about Caitlyn Clark. And now Engelbert is unemployed, humiliated, and probably wondering how she managed to screw up the easiest job in professional sports.
You should resign. You need to resign. Period. Reason I say that, doggy, is because when a player, any player, but especially one of that magnitude, attacks you publicly like that, that weak-ass statement Commissioner Engelbert gave is not good enough. And I'm gonna say it, it was a weak-ass statement. Could you imagine somebody directing comments and criticisms at you, taking conversations they've had with you directly and telling the world what you said? And did you see that statement Commissioner Engelbert gave? If that, I mean, she basically provided no defense of herself. I mean, I don't have the statement right directly in front of me, y'all.
Mischaracterization.
Yeah, a mischaracterization.
She was disheartened.
I'm disheartened at the mischaracterization. What? What?
Here's what went down. Engelbert spent months acting like she was the savior of women's basketball. She walked around taking credit for the league's growth while completely ignoring the players who actually made it happen.
Let me clarify first, because it's proxy season, right? No CEO do you just put the base pay in there. You put their bonus, you put their stock options, you put everything. Caitlyn has the ability to make up to $500,000 just in WNBA wages this year. So of course they're just looking at a base which is collectively bargained, and actually it's low because she's the #1 pick. She'll make a little more than that, but she also has millions and millions of dollars of endorsements. She's actually, because she declared to become pro, her endorsements are higher in dollar value. She has a global platform now, not just a US platform. So she's going to do just fine, as will the top players in the league, as every league does. Also, there's comparisons to the men. Those men's leagues are 75 to 120 years old. We're tipping off our 28th season. I would say if you looked at them 28 seasons in, we're further ahead. But I realize we still have a lot of work to do.
She treated superstars like replaceable parts in her corporate machine. And when Caitlyn Clark arrived and turned the WNBA into must-watch television, Engelbert had the audacity to say Clark should be grateful for the opportunity. Grateful, as if Clark needed the WNBA more than the WNBA needed her. As if Clark wasn't already a household name before she ever touched a professional court. As if Clark wasn't selling out arenas in college, while most WNBA teams struggled to fill half their seats.
At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Cathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlyn, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlyn should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. That's a mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them.
Engelbert actually believed the league gave Clark her platform instead of the other way around, and that delusion cost her everything. But it gets worse. Engelbert didn't just insult Clark once and move on. She doubled down. She tripled down. She told players that only losers complain about refs. She dismissed injuries as minor inconveniences. She acted as if the WNBA was doing players a favor by letting them exist. And when players started speaking up about the chaos, the inconsistent officiating, and the lack of protection for stars, Engelbert responded with weak statements and corporate nonsense.
She's got a $16 million deal because of the platform the WNBA gave her. It is the single dumbest thing ever said by a sports commissioner in American sport.
The breaking point came when Napheesa Collier sat down for an exit interview and torched Engelbert in front of the entire sports world. Collier exposed every conversation, every dismissive comment, every arrogant statement Engelbert had made behind closed doors. And once that information went public, Adam Silver had no choice. He couldn't let Engelbert represent the WNBA anymore. He couldn't let her damage the league's reputation any further, so he fired her. And honestly, it was overdue. Engelbert had been a disaster from day one. She never connected with players. She never understood basketball culture. She treated the WNBA as a corporate side project instead of a real professional league. And now she's gone, fired, booted out of her office, and the league is finally getting a chance to move forward without her ruining everything. Now let's dive into the Caitlyn Clark disaster that basically ended Engelbert's career. This wasn't just a bad comment or a slip of the tongue. This was Engelbert revealing exactly how she viewed the biggest star in women's basketball. And what she revealed was straight up delusional. Caitlyn Clark came into the WNBA as the most hyped prospect in league history. She had millions of fans. She had national television deals. She had sponsorships worth more money than most WNBA players would make in their entire careers. She was already rich and famous before she ever stepped onto a professional court, and Engelbert somehow convinced herself that Clark owed the WNBA for giving her a platform. Let me paint the picture for you. Clark was making $16 million in endorsements. $16 million. That's more than the entire salary cap for some WNBA teams. She had deals with Nike, State Farm, Gatorade, and a bunch of other major brands. She was on magazine covers, she was trending on social media every single day, and Engelbert sat across from Napheesa Collier at Unrivaled and said Clark should be grateful because without the WNBA platform, she wouldn't make anything. Are you kidding me? Clark was already making everything before the WNBA even drafted her. She didn't need the league needed her. Attendance doubled when she played, ratings went through the roof, arenas that used to be half empty were suddenly selling out. The WNBA got a massive media rights deal specifically because networks knew Clark would bring viewers, and Engelbert had the nerve to act as if the league was doing Clark a favor. But wait, there's more. Engelbert also told Collier that players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the deal she negotiated, on their knees, thanking her for doing the bare minimum of her job. This is the same commissioner who let Clark get hacked and fouled every single game without proper protection. This is the same commissioner who fined coaches for defending their players. This is the same commissioner who treated the biggest ratings draw in league history as if she was just another rookie. And here's the kicker. Engelbert tried to justify Clark's low rookie salary by pointing to her endorsement money. She said Clark would make up to $500,000 in WNBA wages, but that she also had millions in endorsements, as if Clark's outside money meant the league could underpay her, as if Clark's marketability somehow made it okay for the WNBA to not properly compensate its biggest star. That's not how any of this works. Clark brought value to the league. She brought fans, attention, and money, and instead of protecting her, promoting her, and building the entire league around her, Engelbert dismissed her. She minimized her impact. She acted as if Clark was replaceable, and that arrogance is exactly why Adam Silver had to step in and fire her before she destroyed everything the WNBA had gained. Here's where everything exploded. Napheesa Collier sat down for what should have been a routine exit interview after her team got eliminated from the playoffs. But instead of talking about basketball and next season's goals, Collier turned that press conference into a full-blown exposure of Cathy Engelbert's terrible leadership. And she didn't hold back even a little bit. Collier started by congratulating the Mercury for advancing to the finals. Then she made it clear this wasn't about winning or losing. This was about something way bigger. She said the real threat to the WNBA WNBA wasn't money or ratings or even physical play. It was the complete lack of accountability from the league office. And then she went straight for Engelbert's throat. She laid out the facts. Collier said players had been raising concerns about officiating for years, not just complaining, but bringing up legitimate safety issues and competitive integrity problems. And the league office ignored them. Every single time, the inconsistency got worse, the physicality got more dangerous, and Engelbert acted as if everything was perfectly fine. Then came the bombshell. Collier revealed a private conversation she had with Engelbert at Unrivaled back in February. She asked Engelbert how she planned to address the officiating problems that were ruining games, and Engelbert's response was absolutely mind-blowing. She said only losers complain about the refs. Only losers, as if wanting fair officiating made you weak, as if asking for player safety made you a crybaby. Collier also asked Engelbert about the salary situation. She pointed out that players driving massive revenue for the league were making almost nothing in their first 4 years. Caitlyn Clark, Angel Reese, and Paige Buchers were bringing millions of new fans and sponsors, but their salaries were garbage compared to their impact. And Engelbert's answer was to say Clark should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court because without the WNBA platform, she wouldn't make anything. But that wasn't even the worst part. Engelbert also told Collier that players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the deal she got them. On their knees, thanking her for a deal that still left WNBA players as some of the lowest paid professional athletes in America. That's the mentality driving the league from the top. Complete arrogance, zero respect for players, and a belief that the league succeeds despite its players, not because of them. Collier finished her statement by saying players go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value them. She said the league believes it succeeds despite its players instead of because of them. And that right there summed up everything wrong with Engelbert's leadership. She never understood that players are the product. She never understood that without stars, there is no league. She thought she was bigger than the game itself. And once Collier went public with all of this, other players jumped in immediately. Sophie Cunningham backed her up, Lexi Hull backed her up. This wasn't just one player with a complaint. This was a coordinated revolt. Players were done staying quiet. They were done letting Engelbert ruin their league while taking all the credit for its growth. And Adam Silver was watching all of it unfold in real time. Let's talk about the real problem that nobody wanted to admit until it was too late. Cathy Engelbert had absolutely zero connection with the players who made the WNBA relevant. She didn't know how to talk to them. She didn't understand their concerns. And she definitely didn't care about building relationships with the stars who carried the league on their backs. Think about this for a second. How do you run an entire sports league without being close to your biggest stars? How do you lead an organization when A'ja Wilson, Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, and Caitlyn Clark don't even want to be in the same room as you? That's not leadership. That's a complete failure at the most basic level of the job. The communication breakdown was obvious to everyone except Engelbert herself. Players would raise concerns and get ignored. Coaches would point out problems and get fined. Fans would complain about terrible officiating and get labeled as toxic. Engelbert built a wall between herself and the entire basketball community, and then she acted shocked when people started calling for her to resign. Here's the thing about leadership, you can't negotiate if you don't communicate. And there was no real negotiation happening between the players and the league office because there was no quality communication happening in the first place. Engelbert treated conversations as if she was doing players a favor by listening. She never actually heard what they were saying. She never took their concerns seriously, and she definitely never changed anything based on their feedback. Players were telling her the officiating was dangerous. She said only losers complained. Players were telling her stars needed better protection. She said the refs were the best in the world. Players were telling her the league needed to value its biggest names. She said those names should be grateful the league even exists. Every single conversation was Engelbert dismissing legitimate concerns and acting as if she knew better than the people actually playing the games. And it wasn't just one or two players who had problems with her, it was everyone. Veterans who had been in the league for years couldn't stand her. Rookies coming in fresh were immediately frustrated by her attitude. Coaches were getting fined for agreeing with player complaints. The entire ecosystem was broken because the person at the top refused to listen to anyone below her. Now compare that to Adam Silver. The NBA commissioner actually talks to players. He builds relationships. He listens to concerns and makes changes when necessary. He understands that without stars, there is no league. And when he saw what was happening in the WNBA, he realized Engelbert was destroying everything from the inside. She was creating a toxic environment where players felt felt undervalued, ignored, and disrespected. The dilemma was simple. You had star players generating millions of dollars in revenue, bringing record ratings, and selling out arenas. And you had a commissioner telling them they should be grateful for the opportunity. That's not a sustainable model. That's a ticking time bomb. And when Napheesa Collier finally exposed the truth about Engelbert's attitude, the bomb went off. So when people ask why Engelbert got fired, the answer is right there. She couldn't communicate. She couldn't build relationships. She couldn't connect with the people who made her job possible. And in professional sports, that's a death sentence for any leader. You can talk about business deals and media rights all you want, but if you can't work with your players, you're done. And Engelbert was done the moment she decided she was more important than the stars she was supposed to be supporting. So why did Adam Silver finally pull the trigger? Because Cathy Engelbert put the entire WNBA investment at risk. This wasn't just about bad comments or hurt feelings. This was about money, media deals, and the future of women's basketball. And Silver couldn't let one arrogant commissioner destroy everything the NBA had worked to build. Let's be crystal clear about something. The WNBA is not an independent league. It's owned and operated by the NBA. Every dollar invested comes from NBA ownership. Every media deal is tied to NBA leverage. And when the WNBA finally got a massive media rights package worth hundreds of millions of dollars, it was because networks believed Caitlyn Clark would bring viewers. Not because they believed in Engelbert's leadership, not because they thought the WNBA product was amazing, because Clark was a proven ratings magnet, and Engelbert had the audacity to dismiss Clark's impact. She told players Clark should be grateful. She let Clark get targeted on the court without proper protection. She fined coaches who defended Clark, and all of that behavior put the entire media deal at risk. Networks don't pay big money for chaos and controversy. They pay for stars and storylines. And if Clark ever decided she was done with the WNBA, the whole thing would collapse. Silver saw the writing on the wall. He watched as Napheesa Collier went viral blasting Engelbert. He watched as Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull joined the revolt. He watched as Fever fans threatened to boycott the league. And he realized that if he didn't act fast, the WNBA would lose its biggest star and all the momentum that came with her. But there's another layer to this. Rival leagues are watching everything that happens in the WNBA. Unrivaled just launched with serious funding and big-name players. They're offering better pay, better conditions, and more respect for stars. If the WNBA keeps treating players badly, those players will have options. And if Caitlyn Clark ever decides to leave for a rival league, it's game over for the WNBA. If you are enjoying this content and want to see more breakdowns about what is really happening in the WNBA, please hit that subscribe button and support the channel. There is so much more coming.